And we are back to the D2
podcast. All right. So, anyways, let's talk about a little about sports. The NBA has been well underway now. Recently, there's been a lot of talk about the games, the NBA. The ratings are going down. I guess a lot.
So I heard 53%.
Yeah, that was it's quite a decline. And so, like, a lot of people are kind of postulating what are the reasons,
right?
So I thought we could just kind of go over some of the reasons they're talking about and see if any of them really make sense, and then also maybe come up with their own possible ideas of why NBA is not, as it used to be, a big marketing thing. Anyway, so for one,
what is the number one issue, do you think?
Okay, so the number one issue that I hear a lot of people talk about is that this year especially, and there's been stats to prove it, that everyone's just throwing up three-point shot attempts.
Right.
And so everyone is playing the same way, trying to just shoot threes.
Okay.
And they think that's hurting the game.
Okay.
For instance, the Celtics this year, I think what is it? They're taking like 50 3-point attempts a game or something.
So is that
or maybe
more than half of their shots?
Like maybe 50% of their shots are 3-point attempts at least.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of teams are up around the 48, 47% mark of taking threes. I think, the Golden State Warriors, made their mark and became almost a dynasty by shooting threes with Steph Curry from everywhere, with Klay Thompson as well as Splash Brothers. So from an analytics point of view, it has made more sense to shoot more threes now, but then everyone's taking it to the extreme now, and like people are just shooting threes.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Okay, I mean, it looks like the strategy. I haven't watched a whole lot of NBA this year, but what I have watched is like you either take it to the basket, you just drive in, and dish off,
right,
or you just go in.
Yeah,
it's like one or the other. Nobody takes, or very few people take the mid-range jumpers anymore,
right,
because that's, I guess, statistically
that's the lowest percentage shot,
the worst shot to take.
Yeah, because you only get 2 points for a very low percentage shot.
But then, does that style make for a less interesting style of play?
Well, I don't think that in itself is a bad style of play. It's just that now it seems what they're saying is everyone is doing the same thing. So it's just there's no contrast of styles as much.
Okay.
And that's just made for a boring game is what they're saying.
Like I've watched my favorite team, Cleveland Cavaliers. Do I need to show my T-shirt? I will.
Cleveland Cadavers.
Oh, how dare you? So the Cavs.
Hey, Bengals.
Yeah.
I can't really say much. Go ahead.
Best team in the NBA.
Yeah.
And they do jack up a lot of threes. But I think they have an exciting style of play because they have their passing is awesome.
Yeah.
They just whip it around the court, and they're really good about passing to that open guy.
Yeah.
And I find that style pretty exciting because they're also good at defense.
Right.
Because they focus on defense and like just hammering down the other team and then taking threes and inside shots. And I find it fun because number one, they're winning, but it's that the passing is so good.
Yeah.
So I find it fun, but I could see like some other teams who aren't as good who try that style and aren't as successful being kind of boring because there's a lot of big rebounds and kind of boring stuff that happens.
Right. I think you're in some ways. I think you're right. I think when I watch the NBA games, I don't really find them that boring. I think there are games though which you watch and people are just jacking up threes and missing, and then on the other side, they try to hit a three and they miss, and it goes back and forth like maybe for 2 minutes straight, and no one makes a shot.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, people are shooting, they get on a streak, right?
Yeah,
A lot of times they get on a streak. And one of the things I noticed is that there is now a point in the NBA where you can have a 20-point lead.
Oh yeah.
And that is not safe at all anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, within a span of 3 minutes,
yeah,
your lead could be completely blown.
Yeah,
and it happens all the time now.
It seems like that happens every game.
Oh yeah,
right.
It happens all the time.
Like one team goes up by like 20, 22, 25, and then by the third quarter, the other team is only down by like 7.
Right.
Right. And I mean, that's kind of good because it keeps the other team in the game at all times.
Yeah.
But it seems like, now, is that just a result of less than stellar coaching?
I mean, it's possible. I think it's also just the way, I mean, because now, you come back in such a way that you're basically hoisting up threes, right? But I mean, as, in a way, you're living by the 3 and dying by the 3. As many times as possibly you just jack up threes, and you may actually blow a huge lead,
right,
if you can't make them, as opposed to maybe, your luck may turn for a little bit, and then suddenly you're starting to hit threes, 3 after 3 after 3, and then maybe you can, dwindle a 20-point lead. Now it goes down to 3 in like 2 minutes or something. I mean, there's games where teams are down by 10 and they end up winning the game with like a minute to go. I think there was some game recently I saw like that, and it's just,
I think that makes it exciting at the end.
Yeah, in some ways it should make it exciting, right? So maybe it's not necessarily like they're shooting so many threes. I mean, I do understand. I do like, as a guy who really likes the sport, like the whole idea that there should be different styles of play, and you like to see like a team with a different style of play go up against another team that's with a different style of play, and it's interesting to see the contrasts and see who comes out on top. But I know that doesn't happen as much anymore. But like you said, like you said, the Cleveland Cavaliers, you like the way they pass, and I mean, a lot of their success is that they're able to have a bunch of players who can contribute.
Exactly.
Right. Because they work the ball so much. And I know, like, the Golden State Warriors, for one, they're interesting. They're exciting to watch because of their off the ball movement.
Do you remember? Because I think one of the most exciting periods is when the Warriors had that dynasty about 6-7 years ago, right? And it's just like no game was out of reach, right? And when Steph and Clay and whatever other person was, they went on those runs, where they scored like 17 points in the span of like a couple minutes or something, right? And you're like, holy shit, these guys can't miss now. Those were the most fun times, I think. And so now, I guess the criticism is that because of their success, it's brought on this sort of like kind of boring, sort of predictable style of play.
Everyone's doing it, and I think for every time that does happen, where just people just start shooting threes and making threes, they get on a streak. There's games where like people are just shooting threes and they're just missing like crazy. So that might be a big reason, but I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of like neutral on that fact. I do like to see different styles of play, but I don't know if that's necessarily the complete downfall of why the ratings are down. But okay, so
were there any other reasons?
There's a few other reasons I remember. Okay, this is, I don't know how you'll feel about this, but one of the reasons is that the NBA is just too woke.
Too woke.
And that it's just turning people off.
Doesn't the NBA have
they are definitely the most, like, politically speaking, especially as far as social issues go, they are definitely the most on the left out of all the major sports leagues.
It's 85% black. That's why.
Well, I mean, plus you have coaches like Steve Kerr, Popovich, who definitely are outspoken as far as those issues go too.
Good for them. Thank you.
I mean, okay, so what is your take on that?
It sounds to me like when people are complaining it's too woke, they should just replace it with it's too black. Okay, let's be honest. They're just a lot of these people who are saying, "Oh, these woke issues, whatever."
Mm-hmm.
They're just sitting there like, "Oh, black people complaining again." I think that's what's going on.
Okay.
That's my gut reaction to it.
Yeah.
Because okay, too woke it seems to be a catch-all phrase to cover whatever sentiment that people disagree with.
Yeah.
You know, you're too woke about vaccines, or you're too woke about like Me Too, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
It's people can't really, I don't know, articulate anti-woke arguments against those specific things.
Right. So they're just putting a label on it and making woke an ad hominem, so to say.
Exactly. It's just a general defense against
Right.
maybe certain things they don't like. You know what I mean?
Do you think like the issues that are involved with woke though are do you think people are just, is there any part of the like a significant part of the population which is saying, oh, I'm not going to watch the NBA because it's like they're just promoting these issues and I'm sick of hearing about it.
Oh, okay. Let's take for the NBA specifically, right? Now they promote stuff like trying to stop police violence against minorities.
Right. Black Lives Matter.
They
had those shirts on when warm-ups.
And that seems to be the primary sort of idea that they're kind of pushing, right? First of all, I think that's good. It's like
no, I understand. I'm not saying that's bad.
I know.
I think like I'm in support of that, but I think like obviously the country we live in is huge and there is a polarization.
Yeah.
Right. And I think obviously this is coming from people on the right more. They're saying, oh, the NBA's ratings are down, and they want to like say because of wokeism.
Exactly.
And so I just thought I brought it up, bring it up. That's one of the reasons why some people are saying that. I mean, I know the NFL goes a different route. They kind of try to shut down the taking a knee type thing.
They really try to avoid political gestures and things like that. Yeah. Absolutely.
But the only thing they really do is like they have that contract with the military, so they really promote. Yeah. Every time, like in the national anthem and stuff, it's essentially a contract with the U.S. military, right? The armed forces to.
They have all those flyovers.
Yeah, they always do that. Yeah. But I think the NFL seems to be, even though that's more, that's not as black as the NBA, but it's like 60%. It's a 60% black, maybe. Yeah. It still though seems to be more on the conservative side a little bit, and I think partly because a lot of the teams are all over like Kansas City and different areas of the Midwest and stuff, whereas the NBA seems to be more in the, well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, there aren't many teams in the Midwest for the NBA. I'll give it that. Like Chicago is the only one, Detroit, Cleveland, but they don't have a Cincinnati team. They don't have a team in St. Louis or Green Bay, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, I guess. But anyways, I don't think that's the big reason per se that
I don't
the
think
ratings
so.
are down.
I don't think so either.
I think most people, if the game is exciting, people are just going to say, screw it. I don't care what they do about the wokeism, whether I'm for it or against it. I'm going to watch a game. Yeah. It's exciting to me. So, but anyways, I think that's been brought up. I think that's really more of a politicization. Yeah. Kind of like trying to tell people like the ratings are down because because you guys aren't leaning conservative.
Because they don't like that political agenda.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Another reason. They're saying all the top young stars are foreign. So, what do you think of the ratings are down because of that? What do you think about that?
Okay, interesting.
So the top MVP, you look at the top MVP candidates each year now. Right. Joel Embiid, Luka Doncic, Antetokounmpo,
Jokic,
and Jokic.
Yeah, Jokic.
Those four, all foreign born. Then you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's I mean, Canadian, not necessarily foreign necessarily. I mean, you know, and
Still not American.
not really
goddammit.
truly American though.
Yeah.
And then maybe the only other big MVP possibility has been maybe Jason Tatum, who's the only American.
Right.
So really,
well,
a lot of them are foreign, that are in the MVP talks these days.
But these guys are awesome players,
Yeah, they are.
They're like Jokic for one. I was looking at some article about him. His numbers have never been matched. It's like he's doing things right now that no one has ever done in the history of basketball.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
As a center, he's averaging a triple-double.
Right.
And he's doing these numbers that he's putting up. It's just unreal with this shooting and his passing, rebounding, and it's just like, is he not getting enough clout? Is he not getting enough respect? Is it because he's sort of goofy looking? I don't know. It's unbelievable.
It's interesting. I like watching Jokic play, partly because I think he's an exciting player with his passing.
Yeah, especially his passing,
and just how he is able to go match up in the post.
Yeah.
And he's able to handle the ball. Well, do a lot of all these things, and like to what you're saying is also like, there's stats like I think box plus minus and other things which show him to be like the most effective player ever in the history of the game.
Yeah.
Like when he is on the court, the Nuggets are like +9 or something like that, but crazy. Yeah. And then when he is off the court, they are a below average team.
They're like the worst, almost the worst team.
Yeah. So they're like -10 or something.
It's crazy. Like he is their team.
Yeah.
Their offense.
And like I think Jordan and
LeBron
are the only two that are like, they're the second and third highest in their careers, as far as like box plus minus, and all. I think there's another stat too.
Right.
The combination of those two, he is even way above those two.
Yeah.
In that,
I think I saw that too.
So
okay.
So, anyways,
so do you feel like because he's not as engaging a personality as some of the stars from the past? Like there's obviously a big transition from LeBron, Curry, KD, these guys sort of passing the mantle onto this next generation, right?
Yeah.
And maybe they haven't captured the imagination of the NBA fan, quite like this previous generation did.
Right.
Maybe that's part of what's going on here.
Maybe. I think like there is like usually this idea of kind of passing the torch on, and that just hasn't happened. I think you have all these new young the top players are foreign, and even upcoming now. Wembanyama, who's French, and I'm sure there's going to be a few people who were drafted that are foreign in the upcoming years that no one even knows about are going to become superstars too.
Yeah.
So the NBA is starting to become, at least the top players are starting to become all foreign players.
Right.
Is that taking away from the appeal for the ratings for the NBA in America?
Because they can't identify with these guys?
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons they were saying.
I don't know. It just seems like, you get a guy like Giannis, who, he has no three-point game. But physically, he's a monster, and he can do anything.
He's unstoppable.
Yeah.
In the open court.
Defensively, he can be awesome too. Right. So he's got the all-around game, except for the three-point shooting. He's pretty engaging, but I think he also plays in a small market.
Milwaukee.
Yeah. I think that's kind of a problem.
Right.
For him. But a guy like Ja Morant, his style of play should make him the most popular guy, I think. Because he's kind of like Iverson 2.0, the way he plays.
Yeah.
And I think if he didn't have his off-court issues,
Yeah.
he could have been the face of the NBA. He could have taken over that mantle. He could have been the next LeBron, but he kind of screwed himself.
Yeah.
With all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he could still come back. He's still young. He's still a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there are some players like that. Like they were trying to promote him for a little bit. They were trying to promote that guy from New Orleans, the Pelicans, Zion Williamson. Yeah. But unfortunately, he gained weight. And he wasn't. The other guys just seemed, play much better. Luka just burst on the scene, and this was despite like a lot of the negative talk about him when he first got drafted. Partly because they just didn't know what to expect when a foreign player gets drafted, right?
Right.
And he got drafted. It was third or fourth, maybe?
I think it was lower, like maybe 6 or 7.
And then he got traded.
Oh,
or
maybe
something.
You're right. Maybe you're right.
He got drafted by the Hawks, and then he got traded for the
Trae Young.
Fifth. Yeah,
right.
And obviously, he was a better pick than Trae Young, I think. But a lot of people were saying, "Oh, he's not athletic," and I think that's the big dig on a lot of the like Jokic as well.
Yeah.
And some of the other early projected top European draft picks.
Yeah.